welcome back to Jessie DIY. So, today I will be reading to you guys Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And I'm actually super excited since, last time, be quiet, or put on headphones. So, yesterday we went to Target and we bought a few things, including a puzzle of Jigsaw. And I'll show you some at the end. And I'll read it to you. So, this is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is really big, but I know how to read. So, yeah, that's it. So, what you'll need for reading is the same book. You don't have to. You could just find it online, or you could just buy it. Ask your parents, go to Target and buy the same book. They sell a lot of these Harry Potter ones. We just got it yesterday, I guess, since it's so new. And, yeah. And we will be reading chapter 3. I'm sorry because yesterday I read the other 2 chapters. So if you guys want to catch up with me, you guys can read the other 2 chapters first. Or you guys can just listen to me and read chapter 3. Or you guys can start watching the movie and then you can come back to me reading this for you guys. So yeah, I made a Harry Potter bookmark. I know it's not really good, but let's start reading. So, chapter 3, The Night Bus. Chapter 3. Okay, let's do it. Harry was several streets away before he collapsed onto a low wall in Magnolia Crescent, panting from the effort of dragging his trunk. He sat quite still, anger still surging through him, listening to the frantic thumping of his heart. But after 10 minutes alone in the dark street, a new emotion overtook him, panic. Whichever way he looked at it, he had never been in a worse fix. He was stranded quite alone in the dark Muggle world, with absolutely nowhere to go. And the worst of it was he had just done serious magic, which meant that he was almost certainly expelled from Hogwarts. Ooh, that's bad. He had broken the decree of the restriction of underage wizardry so bad he was surprised Ministry of Magic representatives weren't swooping down on him where he sat. Harry shivered and looked up and down Magnolia Crescent. What was going to happen to him? Would he be arrested, or would he simply be outlawed from the wizarding world? He thought of Ron and Hermione, and his heart sank even lower. Harry was sure that, criminal or not, Ron and Hermione would want to help him now, but they were both abroad, and with Hedwig gone, and had no means of contacting them. He didn't have any Muggle money either. There was a little wizard gold in a money bag at the bottom of his trunk, but the rest of the fortune his parents had left him was stored in a vault at Gringotts Wizarding Bank in London. He'd never be able to drag his trunk all the way to London unless... He looked down all at his wand, which he was still clutching in his hand. It was already expelled. His heart was now thumping painfully fast. A bit more magic could have hurt. He had the bewitched invisibility cloak he had inherited from his father. What if the bewitched the trunk to make his feather light tied to his broomstick, covered himself in the cloak, and flew to London? Then he could get the rest of his money out of Vault and begin his life as an outcast. It was a horrible prospect, but he couldn't sit on this wall forever, or he'd find himself trying to explain to Muggle police why he was out in dead night with a trunk full of spell books and a broomstick. Harry opened his trunk again and pushed the contents aside, looking for the invisibility cloak. But before he found it, he straightened up suddenly, looking around him once more. A funny prickling on the back of his neck made Harry feel he was being watched. But on the street appeared to be deserted, and no lights shone from any of the large square houses. He bent over his trunk again, but almost immediately stood up once more, his hand clenched on his wand. He had sensed rather than heard it. Someone or something was standing in the narrow gap between the garage and the fence behind him. Harry squinted at the black alleyway. If only it would move, then he'd know whether it was just a stray cat or something else. Lumos! Harry muttered. A light appeared at the end of the wand, almost dazzling him. He held it high over his head, and the pebble-dashed walls of number 2 suddenly sparkled. the garage door gleamed, and between them, Harry saw, quite distantly, the hulking outline of something very big with wide, gleaming eyes. Guess what, everyone? I actually have that, the night bus. It's upstairs. I can actually show you guys in another video, or yeah, since you guys should watch my Christmas video, Christmas vlog, to see it. So yeah. Harry saw, okay, he stepped backwards. His legs hit his trunk and he tripped. His wand flew out of his hand as he hung out an arm to break his fall, and he handed hard in the gutter. There was a deafening bang, and Harry knew up his hands to shield his eyes against the suddenly blinding light. With a yell, he rolled back into the pavement just in time. A second later, a gigantic pair of wheels and headlights screeched up to the house, exactly where Harry had been lying. This belonged, as Harry saw when he raised his head, to a triple-decker, violently purple bus, which had appeared out of thin air. Gold lettering out the windshield spelled the night bus. For a split second, Harry wondered if he had been knocked silly by his fall. Then a conductor in a purple uniform leapt out of the bus and began to speak loudly to the night. "Welcome to the night bus. Emergency transport for the stranded witch or wizard. Just stick out your wand hand, step on board, and we can take you anywhere you want to go. My name is Stan Shunpike, and I will be your conductor this eve." The conductor stopped abruptly. He had just caught sight of Harry, who was still sitting on the ground. Harry snatched up his wand again and scrambled to his feet. Close up, he saw that Stan Shunpike was only a few years older than him, 18 or 19 at most, with large protruding ears and quite a few pimples. "What are you doing down there?" said Stan, dropping his professional manner. "Fell over," said Harry. "You fell over for?" sniggered Stan. "I didn't do it on purpose," said Harry, annoyed. One of the knees in his jeans were torn, and the hand he had thrown out to break his fall was bleeding. He suddenly remembered why he had fallen over and turned around quickly to stare at the alleyway between the garage and fence. The night bus's headlamps were flooding in with light, and it was empty. "Cho looking at?" said Stan. "There was a big black thing," said Harry, pointing uncertainly into the gap, "like a dog, but massive." He looked around at Stan, whose mouth was slightly open, with a feeling of unease. Harry saw Stan's eyes move to the scar over Harry's forehead. "What's that on your head?" "Ed?" "I guess that's what he said," said Stan abruptly. "Nothing," said Harry, quickly flattening his hair over his scar. If the Ministry of Magic was looking for him, he didn't want to make it too easy for him. "What's your name?" Stan persisted. "Neville Longbottom," said Harry, saying the first name that came to his head. So this bus," he went on quickly, hoping to distract Stan. "Did you say it goes anywhere?" "Yep," said Stan proudly. "Anywhere you like. Long as it's on land. Can't do nothing underwater." He said, looking suspicious again. "You did flag us down, didn't you? Struck out your wand and didn't you?" "Yes," said Harry quickly. "Listen, how much it would be to go to London?" 11 sickles, said Stan. "But for 13, you get a chocolate. And for 15, you get a water bottle on a toothbrush in the color of your choice. Harry rummaged once more into his trunk, extracted his money bag, and shoved some silver into Stan's hand. He and Stan then lifted his trunk with Hedwig's cage balanced on top, using the steps of the bus. There was no seat. Instead of half-dozen brass bedsteads stood beside the curtained windows. Candles were burning in brackets beside each bed, illuminating the wood-paneled walls. A tiny wizard in a nightcap at the rear of the bus muttered, No, thanks. I'm picking some slugs," and rolled out over his sleeve. You've this one," Stan whispered, shoving Harry's trunk under the bed right behind the driver, who was sitting in an armchair in front of the steering wheel. "This is our driver, Ernie Prang. This is Neville Longbottom. Ernie Prang, an elderly wizard wearing very thick glasses, nodded to Harry, who friendly flattened his bangs again and sat down on his bed. There was another tremendous bang, and the next moment, Harry found himself flat on the bed, thrown backwards by the speed of the night bus. Pulling himself up, Harry stared out of the dark window and saw that they were now bowling along there's a few more pages. Yeah, okay. Completely different street. Stan was watching Harry's stunned face with great enjoyment. This is where we was before you flagged us down, he said. Where are we, Ern? Somewhere in Wales? R, said Ernie. How come the Muggles don't hear the bus, said Harry. Them, said Stan contemptuously. Don't listen properly to that. They don't look properly either? Never notice, nothing. They don't. Best go, wake up. Nan Marsh, Stan, said Ern. We'll be in Abergavenny in a minute. Stan passed Harry's bed and disappeared up a narrow wooden staircase. Harry was still looking out of the window, feeling decreasingly nervous. Ernie didn't seem to have mastered the use of a steering wheel. The night bus kept moving on the pavement, but it didn't hit anything. Lines of lamposters, mailboxes, and trash cans jumped out of its way as it approached and backed its positions once it had passed. Stan came back downstairs by a faintly green witch wrapped in a traveling cloak. You go, Madam Marsh, said Stan happily as Ern stamped on the brake and the bed slid a foot or so towards the front of the bus. Madam Marsh clamped a handkerchief to her mouth and toppled down the steps. Stan threw her bag after her and ran the door shut. There was another loud bang, and they were thundering down a narrow country lane, trees leaping out of the way. Harry wouldn't have been able to sleep even if he had been traveling on the bus that didn't even keep banging loudly and jumping 100 miles at a time. His stomach churned as he fell back to wondering what was going to happen to him and whether the Dursleys had managed to get Aunt March off the ceiling yet. Stan had unfurled a copy of the Daily Prophet, was now reading his tongue between his teeth. A large photograph of a sunken man with long matted hair blinked slowly at Harry from the front page. He looked strangely familiar. Daddy, be quiet. I'm making a video. Familiar. That man, Harry said, forgetting his troubles for a minute. He was on the Muggle News. Stan turned to the front of the page and chuckled. Sirius Black, he said, nodding. Of course it was on the Muggles News, Neville. Where you been? He gave a superior sort of chuckle at the blank look at Harry's face, removed from the front page, and handed it to Harry. You ought to read the papers, Mr. Neville. Harry held the paper up to the candlelight and read, Black still at large. So you guys, I'll show you this one. Here it says, Black still at large. Black still at large. So, yeah. Okay, so, Sirius Black, possibly the most infamous prisoner ever to be held in Azkaban and Fortress, is still including capture. The Ministry of Magic confirmed today. We are doing all we can recapture Black, said the Ministry of Magic, Cornelius Fudge, this morning, and we beg the magical community to remain calm. Okay. Fudge has been criticized by some members of the International Federation of Warlocks for informing the Muggle Prime Ministers of the crisis. Well, really, I had to, don't you know, said an irritable Fudge. Black is mad. He's a danger to anyone who crosses him, magic or Muggle. I have the Prime Minister's assurance that he will not breathe a word of Black's true identity to anyone. And let's face it, who'd believe him if he did? While Muggles still have been told that Black is carrying a gun, a kind of metal wand that Muggles use to kill each other. The magical community lives in a fear of masquerade like that of 12 years ago when Black murdered 13 people with a single curse. Wow, that's a really bad thing. Black sure is a bad person. So, yeah. Harry looked into the shadowed eyes of Sirius Black. The only part Harry looked at the sour eyes of Sirius Black, the only part of the sunken face that seemed alive. Harry had never met a vampire, but he had seen pictures of him in the Defense Against the Dark Arts classes, and Black with his waxy white skin looked just like one. Scary-looking thing, any? Said Stan, who has been watching Harry read. He murdered 13 people, said Harry, handing the page back to Stan. With one curse? Yeah, said Stan in front of the witness and all. Broad daylight brought big trouble across, didn't it, Ern? Said Ern darkly. Stan shriveled in his armchair, his hands on his back, the better to look at Harry. Black was a big supporter of you-know-who, he said. What, Voldemort? Said Harry without thinking. Even Sand Pimples went wide. Ern jerked the steering wheel so hard that a whole farmhouse had to jump aside to avoid the bus. You got your tree? Yelped Stan. True say its name for. Sorry, said Harry hastily. Sorry, I forgot. Forgot, said Stan weakly. Blimey, my air's going that fast. So Black was a supporter of you-know-who? Harry prompted up apologetically. Yeah, said Stan, still rubbing his chest. Yeah, that's right, very close to you-know-who, they said anyway. When little Harry Potter got the better of you-know-who, Harry nervously flattened his bangs down again. All you-know-who's supporters was tracked down, wasn't they, Ern? Most of them knew it was all over with you-know-who gone and became quiet. But not Sirius Black. I heard he thought he'd be second in command once you-know-who and taken over. Anyway, the court was Black in the middle of a street full of muggles and Black took out its wand and it blasted out the street apart on a wizard. Got it on? So did a dozen muggles what got in the way. Horrible, eh? And you know what Black did then? Stan continued in a dramatic whisper. What? Said Harry. Laugh, said Stan. Just stood there and laughed. And when reinforcements from the Ministry of Magic got there, he went with them, quite as any freak. Still laughing, so Zed off. Cause he mad, and he mad? If he weren't went to Azkaban, he will now. If he weren't when he was to Azkaban, he would be now in his slow voice. I'd blow myself up before I set foot in that place. So, you guys, okay, so this is for chapter 3. We're going to do part 2 of this. So, yeah, that's it. There's only a few more pages, so I'm going to do a part 2 on the other few pages. So, yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. So, yeah, bye!